Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Veteran Strong Podcast. I'm Fernando Cerezo. I'm a 28-year active duty Navy veteran, and I'm joined by Dr. V. I'll let
All
her
right.
share.
Thanks, Fern. Yep, my name is Dr. Dina Varela. I'm a 22-year active duty Navy veteran myself. What we're going to do real quick is, well, first off, let me just say that I'm really excited we're here with you guys. We're going to go right into a day in the history. Um, so let's talk about that real quick. A couple different interesting, I guess you could call them fun facts. So February 24th, 1868, Andrew Johnson, 17th President of the U.S., um, was the first president to have impeachment proceedings brought up against him by the House of Representatives.
Hmm. Been hearing a lot about impeachment in the last few years, so uh, the ghost of that president has shown back up to the states. I'm just kidding.
Right. The second quick tip or fact, sorry, not tip, fact, is in February 26, 1919, the Grand Canyon National Park was actually established.
Yeah. Well, with that, I'm glad you gave me a segue for a tip because I can give them a tip. Most people veterans may not know this, but veterans can, and I'll read verbatim. Veterans can get free entry to the Grand Canyon National Park and most other federal recreational sites. This includes a free lifetime pass for Gold Star families and U.S. military veterans. So I encourage everyone go to the Federal Park Service website or to your state and local park services website, and you'd be. I was surprised. I've been to a few parks that I didn't have to pay to go into that I would have thought to pay. And I'll give you one example here in Hawaii. There's a few parks, and if you have your military ID, they give you free entrance. I encourage everybody to go online, take a look for the Grand Canyon, to go with Dr. V's, topic of the day. I encourage everyone, if you have an opportunity, I haven't visited, but I would love to. It's absolutely free for those Gold Star families and U.S. military veterans.
Awesome. It's funny because I haven't visited there either. I spent most of my time overseas and really need to see all of the U.S. So the next thing, I think Fern's going to talk about tax season, which is kind of appropriate since we're actually in it. So Fern, did you want to talk about that?
No, absolutely, absolutely. I'm sure that most of our viewers that are our veterans may have signed up for the VA newsletter, and one of the topics on the VA newsletter is tax season coming up and the services that are offered for military veterans and military active duty as well. And what's great is that the IRS has a page dedicated for services that you can get, and not only services, but also tax breaks that you may be allotted. So please visit the IRS.gov and just go into the search menu, push in there veteran, it'll take you to the page. I'm looking at it right now, and the heading says if you're a veteran, you can get free tax preparation with the IRS and assistance from other government agencies. So please look, it says here free tax preparation, including benefits from tax tables, tax refunds and credits, and it even gives you scams, which, by the way, that there is a lot of scams where folks claim to be the IRS, and you end up giving personal information, and they know you're a veteran or you're a senior. They tend to target those groups because
Mhm.
those are the groups that are more likely to think it's an honest correspondence from the IRS. It also has IRS jobs for veterans on this page, and a few more items. IRS foreign publications that are alternate formats for veterans, and Veterans Administration programs, and then IRS partners that can help you with tax preparation, that can either give you a discount or do it for free. So I encourage everyone to go onto the IRS.gov, go to the actual veteran section or military section, and take a look at what they have in store for you. It's a great it's great to look at what kind of products are out there from these agencies for veterans that veterans are not aware of or is underutilized. So I encourage everyone to go do that. And even maybe in the next episode, we'll talk about the Social Security, which there's great benefits for certain members of a certain time group, certain veterans, that you can get certain credits. And maybe in the next episode, we'll talk to that, that you may be eligible for more compensation from Social Security when your time comes up for receiving Social Security. So yeah, no, that's great. I'm glad you plugged that in, Dr. V. It's important information. Knowledge is power. Veteran Strong, this is what it's all about. Let's share this information. Let's get each other taken care of. I take care of you, take care of me. We're good to go, and that's what this is all about. So awesome. Remember, tax season ends in April, so you still have a few months. I believe April 15th, if I'm correct. It may be separate, definitely in April. So I'm not looking forward to that because I haven't finished filing, but yeah, please make sure let's follow the law and let's get that tax going.
Yeah, I haven't done mine either. I was kind of putting it out of my mind. So thanks for bringing that up, Fern.
Yeah.
It is important. We do need to do it, and I usually wait till the last minute, which is something that I just have always done. So I'm not saying I'm proud of that, but that's just how I've been.
Yeah.
So good information. What it's going to look like now is Fern's going to go ahead and touch on some information on disability, and then once he's done, I'll touch on some information on anger and how you can kind of manage anger, and then we'll go from there. Fern?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Dr. V. So great topic. We like to talk about, veterans benefits. One of the main topics you'll see online and you'll see advertised is for veterans compensation and pension, also known as CMP. So before we can get to a CMP exam or being evaluated for CMP, you have to apply for it. So today we'll talk about the form that's required to start the process. So whether you're a veteran navigating the VA system or just starting your journey, we're here to break down the essential steps for securing the compensation and benefits that you earn. So in this episode, we're going to focus on VA Form 21 TAC 526EZ, the key form to begin your compensation and pension claim with the Department of Veterans Affairs. So we'll walk you through this, through what the form is, why it's important, and how to fill it out correctly. And so you can get the benefits you deserve quickly, and not only you deserve, but that you've earned quickly and efficiently as possible. So grab your pens and paper, grab a pen and a paper, and let's dive into details. So I'm going to go straight from the actual VA site, and I'm going to talk to this here. So the overview is, again, VA Form 21 TAC 526EZ is application for VA disability benefits. Okay, to start the process. I'm going to highlight that. It's to start the process. So what is it used for? It's to apply for disability compensation and related benefits, to start the VA claim process for service-connected compensation, which I'll stop for a moment here and talk about service connection. Service-connected, service connection, you're going to hear those terms. You either hear them when you're applying for the process. You've probably already heard this. You've probably heard it from other veterans. You've heard it from folks that are going through the process, been through the process, or you're looking forward to getting to that process. Service connected is exactly what it sounds like. All right. I hate to say, common sense, but sometimes common sense ain't common. And I know in this group, we got the common sense because that's what we're Veteran Strong. With that being said, the VA is going to compensate you for injuries or health-related issues that happen while you were in service. And that's what you're applying for, right? You're applying to be compensated and get pension for that. So to receive these benefits for service-related disability, diseases, or disorders, you have to, this is the form to fill out, and it has to be during your service. Now, with that being said, we all remember going to MEPS and we did our physical to join the military service. Doesn't matter what branch you went through. We all filled out the same form. We all went through a MEPS. As you can remember, if you can go back, I go back 8 years ago, did the duck walk with all sorts of different young men that were joining not only the Navy, but the Army, the Marines, the Air Force, and the Coast Guard. And now today, the Space Force, right? That wasn't the Space Force wasn't in existence when I came in. But this is actually the medical evaluation that you do to join the military service. Now, you remember there was a questionnaire that needed to be filled out, medical questionnaire, and it had yes or no answers. If it had a yes, which means something that you may have had, some sort of illness or medical condition, and it asked you to explain it in the descriptions, and the doctors at the Met would evaluate it to see if you would be eligible to come into service with those pre-existing conditions. So keep that in mind. And when I say the difference between service connected and that, well, your service connection may have aggravated some of those pre-existing conditions. So if they did aggravate some of those pre-existing conditions, the VA will evaluate that, and they may compensate you for and give you pension for those injuries. For the military service aggravated those injuries, if I can say. So back to the form. Who can use it? Veterans can use the form to apply for VA disability benefits. Now, I encourage you all to go in and go into the VA website, look up the form number, and there's instructions in there. Review the instructions, follow them clearly to the dot. Make sure you cross all T's, dot all I's, because it's very important for when it gets seen at the VA, when they see your form, that they can process it and get you ready for your CMP exams if needed. And, of course, we'll get into more details later with that. Dr. V, anything you want to add before I continue?
Yeah, real quick, I just want to put this out there so that everybody knows that this is what Fern and I do. We specialize in disability, helping veterans with disability claims. We also specialize in helping veterans go through the process for that, and while they're going through it, minimize how they're feeling, because a lot of time there's challenging emotions that go along with this whole process. And so I, being one that worked at the VA and left the VA because I didn't like how veterans were being treated, saw this process, been through this process, did assessments, did DBQs for this. So this is what we do. Thanks, Fern.
Well, absolutely. Thank you, Dr. V. Absolutely. And we can help you through the process, as Dr. V has mentioned. If you're going through it right now, or you're going to be coming up of filling out this form, please drop us message us. You could send us a private message. You could our contact information. Just drop us a Facebook message, and we can get in contact, because obviously we want to make sure it's confidential as well. So with that being said, so what does it do? And it sounds like I'm being redundant and repeating myself, but I'm going to tell you, I'm reading this straight from the VA website. So I want to give you the VA's take exactly how it's written. So submitting this form initiates a disability-related claim. Again, and I mentioned it about 3 times. That's why I said it may sound redundant. I may say it two or three more times. It's the first step in receiving the benefits for a service-related disability, disease, or disorder. Disability, disease, or disorder. So just keep that in mind as we're reviewing, talking about this form. Which, again, the form number, jot it down, VA form 21526EZ. So other VA disability benefits, veterans may be eligible for disability benefits for conditions like chronic back pain, breathing problems, hearing loss, scar tissue, loss of range of motion, and ulcers, just to name a few. Now, I want to give a personal example. In 1997, I was deployed to the Micronesian Islands, and the equipment we were using some of it was still World War II era equipment. So for those that have been in, prior to the 2000s, where we got the nice Gucci equipment, we were still using some of those World War II, Vietnam, Korean War, some of the equipment like the Deuce and a Half. So in Micronesia, I was a utilities man when I first came in as enlisted. I came in as a CP. I was a plumber, and I was a plumber and HVAC technician. So I laid a lot of pipe. With that, I was sent to go get uh, water from the river, and we would pump the water into a water buffalo. So the water buffalo was connected at the back of the truck at the hatch. Well, with that, when I went to put the water buffalo on the hatch, it actually punctured my one of my fingers, or they call it digit in the medical world, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. B. These are digits, right? It's where they put it on the form.
Yep.
Go ahead.
No, that's right. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yep. And I received a few stitches here, which you can barely see. It was 1997. Why am I giving you this story? Okay, so when I filled out this form, one of the things that it was advised to me is to ensure that you put everything and anything medically that's happened to you while you're active duty or reserves, for that matter. If you were on active status, or you were on, your weekend, or your 2 weeks a year, or if you were deployed, if it happened in service, sometimes we don't remember. And so you have to kind of go back and reflect and think about things that might have happened to you and that you had to seek medical attention. In this case, this was back 1997. I've healed, but the scar's still there. And one of the things they look at is they look at scar tissue. So if you have some sort of cuts, wounds, puncture, a bullet punctures, and I'm going extreme there, or maybe a cut on your foot, or maybe a surgery that shows, which the surgery itself will be reviewed, but you can also see the scar. Well, if you don't remember, or you definitely want to recall from the day you joined and the day you went to boot camp, because even if something happened while you were in boot camp, it can be claimed and it'll be reviewed by the compensation and pension folks in the VA. Why do I bring this digit up again? Because there is compensation for certain scars, scar tissue, and certain things, but mostly anything in your body that may have been caused you a disability or is going to cause you any harm that you didn't have prior to service. It's basically the Navy, or I'll say the military, in general. The VA is compensating you for injuries and disabilities that you didn't have before you came in. Because if I wasn't sent to Pohnpei, and I wasn't sent on that mission to go get water, to pump the water into the water buffalo, that would have never happened, possibly. I would have probably been back in my hometown selling cars or something of that nature. So with that being said, we can get to more details if you like. If you're going through the process, I encourage you to send us a message. Let's link up. We can help you go through the process. We can help you review the form before you submit it to ensure that it's filled out correctly. Like I said, cross all, hit every I and cross every T. It's important for you to be able to get the compensation and pension that you deserve and that you earned, quite honestly. So I'll end with this. VA Form 21526EZ is the beginning of all for CMP, and which again, compensation and pension from the VA. With that, Dr. V, anything to add to that, to the form or the process?
No, I think you covered it great. Thank you.
No worries. That's what we're here for.
Awesome.
We'll make it work for anybody out there. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, definitely. That's what we're here for, right? As we mentioned earlier, I'm going to go into discussing anger. And maybe some of you are asking, well, why are we talking about disability and then we talk about like anger falls under mental health, right? I just want to put it out there that this is my heart project, and this is very, very important to both of us, Fern and I. Veterans, as they're transitioning, getting ready to leave, and then transitioning into the civilian lifestyle, they go through a lot of, including myself, let me speak for me, I went through a lot of challenges. I went through a lot of trying times. I had anxiety, I had anger. So I experienced a lot of mental health challenges, and kind of that's how everything started for me. I decided to go back into school and go through for clinical psychology so that I could work with veterans and get into the VA system and be closer to them. And so that's kind of what you're hearing now in our podcast is we're covering disability and mental health, and only because I think that it's really important that think about it like when you're going through such a process, how that can affect your mind, right? Can create a lot of anxiety, it could create anger. So that's kind of how we got to this point. And I just kind of wanted to put that out there in case you were wondering, well, how do we go from disability to mental health challenges? And that's kind of what we did. What I'll do now is kind of discuss anger, what anger looks like, and what we can do to kind of help manage anger. And for me, I just want you to know that I I know now how to control my anger, but I had a really big issue with anger and anger management, right? I would just kind of fly off the handle. I would get really mad. There was one point when I was in the Navy at 32nd Street in San Diego, and I was a senior chief over there at a new unit. The Naval Boat Police had just opened up, and I was taking charge of that. And I had a LPO who just wanted to butt heads and kind of give me flack on everything that was being put down. And so, after so much of that and so much of him kind of just not doing what he was told to do, I got so angry that I took everything he had out of his office and I put it outside on the street. And so, when you think about something like that, I am definitely by no means proud of that, right? But that was serious, like, anger going on, right? And so I knew from that point I needed to figure out how I could manage that effectively because I couldn't go on like that, right? So anger is a natural and a powerful emotion that everyone experiences at various points in their life. And anger is also it's a response to a perceived threat, or maybe an injustice that's done to us, right? So it's often triggered by frustration. It could be maybe triggered by stress, or maybe someone hurt you. And one thing to kind of think about is although anger can be a very constructive emotion, allowing us to address something that's wronged us, if we do that in the right way, it can also be very destructive if it's not managed properly. So, what is anger? Anger is an emotional state that ranges from mild irritation to maybe even intense rage, right? So, there's a scale there. And we're kind of get into some of the tools to help manage that. And on that note, everyone kind of reacts to anger a little bit differently, right? So,
Yeah.
Fern, did you want to add anything?
No, absolutely, absolutely. I'm sure everybody can agree. Angry. You know, and there's some people may get triggered, have a uh, lighter amount of pressure to trigger their anger, and some people it may take an act of a miracle to get them upset. But I can relate. I mean, being in the military, when we go through so many emotional roller coasters, and there's so much that can frustrate us and push us into anger. Even talking about the form we talked today, filling out the form, the VA form, and ensuring you talked about injustices. We get angry, we want to make sure that our form is being presented and is being reviewed fairly. And there's veterans that get angry because they may not get the results they're looking for because they didn't fill out the form correctly. So just to give a connection to anger and when it relates to even filling out dealing with the veteran administration. So I'm definitely have had my moments of anger, no doubt. I think you may have seen a few when we were Chiefs. You were a match chief, I was a chief, working for you, and I definitely seen a little bit of a reaction, which is sometimes warranted, but definitely want to be kept under control, which you're a specialist, you specialize in it. And I got all ears open because I definitely want to take in what you put in it. So let me zip my mouth and let's get you a bag. I just wanted to throw that example in there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, aside from anger being an emotional response, it also has a physiological response involving the autonomic nervous system. And that could cause, like, what that looks like is a cause or increase in your heart rate, elevated blood pressure, and a surge of adrenaline when we're talking about the physiological response to anger. And anger serves, although anger serves an instinctual defense mechanism, preparing us to confront or flee from threats, which I'm sure you guys may have heard the term fight or flight, that's commonly more used. Um, although it does serve as a defense mechanism, it's how we use it, how we react to it, what we do with that is what the outcome is going to be in regard to how we manage our anger. Hopefully that made sense. So, how do people react to anger? There's a lot of different ways um, that people react to anger. And believe me, I've seen them. I've seen a lot of different ways working in the VA, running various anger management groups. I've got to see that. And one thing to remember is anger is shaped by our personality. It could also be shaped by our upbringing and the current circumstances we're in. So let's say we're just having a shitty day in general, right? And things aren't going well. Well, that's going to contribute. Those circumstances are going to contribute to what's going on and how we react to that anger, right? So here's some different reactions to anger. There are many more than this, but I'm just going to kind of cover three reactions. So just again, keep in mind there's more than just these three, but we're going to talk about aggression, suppression, and passive aggressive behaviors. And like I said, there's many more, but like right now, let's just focus on just these three. And Fern, if I'm going through here or something comes up or something doesn't make sense, by all means, let me know so I can kind of clarify. The first one we're going to talk about is aggression. So what does aggression look like? Well, that may be lashing out verbally or physically, right? Luckily, being in the military, we knew we weren't able to physically put hands on, right? So most of the time, we would experience more of a verbal lash out, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So expressing anger through confrontation or violence. This response can harm relationships and it can escalate the conflict, right? So when we're talking about aggression, not so much beneficial to anybody, right? Actually, all three of these aren't. Suppression is the second one we're going to talk about, and that may be when someone kind of internalizes and bottles up their emotions because they want to avoid confrontation. And I can say now, as I've gotten older, I haven't been in the military, I retired in 2011, I find that I kind of veer toward this a little bit more because I don't want to deal with a confrontation, right? But although it may seem like it's a peaceful approach, suppressed anger can lead to resentment. If you're not dealing with it, it can lead to stress over time and physical health issues. So, although like I mentioned, it sounds peaceful and all, like, hey, I don't want that conflict. If you keep doing it over and over, at one point you can blow up as well. So, I just want to have you keep that in mind. And then the third one I want to talk about real briefly is passive aggressiveness. And some people may resort to passive aggressive behavior when they're in regard to how they react to anger. And this is in which they may express their anger indirectly um, through passive aggressive behavior. And a couple of those things maybe looks like Sarcasm. That's an example of passive aggressive behavior. Another example is backhanded compliments, and maybe they intentionally procrastinate. Let's go back real quick to backhanded comments. What is a back? I'm going to give you an example of a backhanded comment. Um, Let me see if I can just think of one real quick. Oh, hold on one second. Just give me one. Okay, so maybe if I said something like, "Oh, your haircut makes what you're wearing look really good." That would kind of be a backhanded compliment. They may initially think, "Oh, she's saying something about my hair, making this look good," but really that's not a compliment. Fern, does that make sense? Because I don't want to confuse
Yeah,
anybody.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I like to think of it, as you were saying that, I was reflecting as I've met folks like that, th- they hold in what their anger as well, and they do these things that you're mentioning, and but the day that they decide to blow up, it's like a pressure relief valve from someone that is passive aggressive. So yeah, no, you're right on, right on. I'm thinking here, I got some examples in my mind of folks that are like that, and thank God that I'm usually I usually say what's on my mind, which that's also not always the greatest thing to do either. But yeah, I'm sorry. Continue. I'm sorry.
Right.
But share an example.
So yeah, we were kind of talking about the passive aggressive approach, and oftentimes that approach leads to misunderstandings and unresolved conflict. So an important thing to think about is anger. Managing anger is um, effectively crucial for maintaining healthy relationships and overall well-being. So extremely important to be able to kind of figure out what is going to help us to effectively manage our anger. And so now that we talked about what anger is, how people react to anger, let's go ahead and talk about what you can do to stop acting in or out of anger. Okay. I think I'll go ahead and cover about 5 different strategies. And again, when I mention these strategies, there's more than this, but I just want to touch on some high points that I've seen effective for a lot of people. So the first one is identifying triggers. All right, so recognizing the situation, the people, or the events that trigger you. Why? Why would we want to do this? Well, because understanding the root cause of the anger can help you address underlying issues and avoid future triggers, right? So if we know ahead of time, oh, that person, I don't like that person, they just set me off, right? Well, what would be a good thing to do? Maybe go the other way. The second strategy we'll talk about is practicing mindfulness. And mindfulness could include deep breathing techniques, meditation, progressive muscle relaxation, which can all help you stay calm and centered. These practices, the mindfulness practices, enable you to respond to anger with clarity rather than impulsiveness. All right. The third strategy is communicating effectively. So expressing your feelings assertively but respectfully, which sometimes can be a catch-22 for some people, but there is a trick to it. So try using I statements to describe your emotions without blaming or criticizing somebody else. So in other words, for example, say, "I feel upset when," rather than instead of saying, "You make me angry when." So hopefully you can kind of see how you're taking that and deflecting it from them when you're using I statements, and they don't feel like they're being, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, pointed out, or you're kind of blaming them. All right, we're going into the fourth strategy, which is taking a time out. And when you feel anger rising, take a deep breath, take a step back from the situation. Give yourself some time to cool down and collect your thoughts before responding. This pause can prevent you from saying or doing something you'll regret. And I can tell you that this was one of the best pieces of information and strategy that I had ever received, because I was so quick to jump when I got angry. And usually when someone is in that state, they don't really put a lot of thought into what they're saying. And the more angry you are, the more you're apt to say even more mean, destructive, things to somebody else. And once you say those things, you can't take them back, right? And so that's something that I remind myself quite often. Same thing with emails. You might get pissed at somebody and all of a sudden you find yourself at the computer. I really recommend taking a step back and giving yourself some time to think through anything. And sometimes for me, it may take a day or two before I address what's going on, because I need to cool down, right? Fern, did you want to say something?
No, absolutely. You hit it right on the nose. I was going to give a technique that I've had to push myself to learn is when I'm angry, it's okay to type it, but I delete it. So I'll type and I'll read it, and maybe I'll leave it, typed up. I'll move away from the computer, leave for a few hours, come back, and I tell you, 9 out of 10 times, I would say almost 100% of the time, I erase the message and I don't send it at all, because you're spot on. I felt that way before. I've gotten angry and then I'm like, I'm gonna send this email, all caps, ready to yell, ready to go, and I'm glad that I'm glad that I've had the restraint not to push send, because things could have probably not turned out so good for me in my life in service or at all. So
Yeah,
yes,
I like that. I like that because one thing that I heard you say is that you wrote all that down. Of course, for me, I need to be careful I didn't put an address in, because with my luck it'd be sent. But make sure you don't put the address in there, right? But I think writing it down for some people is so important, because it's a good release for them
Mhm.
to get that anger out, and then they can go back and look at it, reflect upon it, and go from there. I love that. Thanks, Fern.
Absolutely.
All right, so the fifth and final one is seeking professional help. And why would we do that? Well, if we're at a point where we can't manage that anger anymore, there's people out there that can help you. There's therapists, there's counselors, there's coaches. There's also a lot of different groups out there. I ran an anger management group for quite a long time, and it was an open group, meaning that people could come in and stay as long as they wanted, and they were coming in continually, right? And for some of them, that was very beneficial. So seeking professional help, as a last step, if nothing else has worked. The professional guidance can provide you with tools and strategies that maybe you weren't picking up on your own, that can help you cope with anger effectively. So, just a thought there. And in conclusion, anger is a natural emotion. We kind of discussed that in the very beginning, that can be managed. Even if you don't think it can be managed. That maybe could be through self-awareness, the mindfulness, like we talked about, effective communication, um, professional support, and then maybe by understanding and addressing our anger, we can definitely foster healthier relationships. Because, obviously when we're angry all the time, we don't tend to take it out just on one person. We kind of take it out on everybody around us. And who are we around the most, right? Usually family, friends. So just food for thought. I mean, I hope this was helpful for you all. You can always reach out. I think Fern mentioned when he was talking about the disability topic. I'm going to say the same thing for this. We have a Facebook group, and we would love if you want to come into that. It's free. Veteran Strong Network, coaching and consulting. Come into there. We put a lot of information out in there, and that's a good way for you to be able to message us or make comments in there, if you need something. And yeah, I think I covered it all. So Fern, do you have any last minute or any questions or comments?
No, I mean, this it was great segue because talking about the VA disability and how it links up, anger and emotions, tend to, that is one of the things that can be compensated and put in pension because those are emotions that we possibly didn't have when we joined, that the service has made us through our way have made us get to the point where we're angry, depressed, and then certain circumstances put us to that situation. Even some of the food that they've given us, and there's so many different ways that that our service can affect our psyche, and I definitely appreciate that. A lot of the things that you mentioned, I can reflect to some of them in myself, and not only that, also I can reflect and see those are items that for VA disability can definitely be not only used, but it could be frustrating going through the process by yourself. So, an effect of not doing your VA disability properly could cause you anger. So, this is great because if you try to attempt this stuff and do it on your own and venture on your own without any guidance or understanding, could lead you to have anger, which is a topic for today. So,
Definitely.
thank you for that. Appreciate you. And Dr. V, you're awesome. You're always spot on and on point. You keep me level headed at all times. So much appreciated.
Thanks, Fern. Well, you do the same with me as well, so we're good balancing there.
Shake and bake, like Ricky Bobby. Yeah. But can I just throw one more thing? Just another plug for our website. Please help us out. If there's anything we can ask, please subscribe to our Facebook channel. We're working on revising our other social media sites. So soon as we revise those, we'll get those out to everyone. And if we can, please just ask for your support. It's about all of us being together on this journey. And when I say us, our veteran community, a very small percentage, under 1% of the United States citizens serve for our country and to support the Constitution. And we all, and including you, we deserve the benefits and the things that are available for us. And there's so much. And if we can just share it, because all of us have different experience in this journey, not only from active duty, but right after becoming a veteran and understanding transitioning and the emotional roller coaster that goes with that, and understanding programs and sharing programs that maybe we're not aware of. Like going to the state park or federal park that, maybe we didn't know. Maybe one of our viewers today, if they take anything out of this video, is that they know they can go to Grand Canyon for free and take their family with them, which is great. That alone is a great benefit. But then not only that they know that we're here to help them. We're here to help everyone, help each other out. We can help you out there. If you have any questions on VA disability, if you have any questions on mindfulness and mental health, the experts are on this podcast at this time, and we would love for you to, at the minimum, just subscribe to our channel, share it with your loved ones and friends, your other veteran community, that may not have saw this podcast, and we would appreciate that with all our heart, because we can only be veteran strong when we're all together.
Yep.
So thank you. Thanks for allowing me to plug that in. It's going to be a great week. It's a great day. It's a beautiful day. Dr. V, close it out to you.
No, I think we covered it all, and happy to be here, and definitely looking forward to seeing you all next week. So with that, I guess we will say bye for now.
Yep. All right. See y'all. God bless.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.